Do you think this justifies burying a man alive? I don't care if he dies. I want him to suffer in fear, just like my poor creatures did. Hey all you cool creatures, I'm Cryptid. Welcome to the Cryptid Plays YouTube channel. And today we are playing Under the Murder Tree, which as you saw was created for the O2A2 2023 visual novel jam, which means one of any asset and a 1,000-word limit. I do believe there are only 2 endings to this, but this is a visual novel created by Banya, who also, as you know, created Emerald Wasp and Deep Inside, which are 2 games that I love, so I think I am also going to enjoy this visual novel. Now, what this visual novel is about is a man named Elliot has been in custody for 4 hours already, and we have 5 minutes to break him and make him talk. This game does come with content warnings because it is intended for an adult audience, so obviously there may be some censoring on my part, but it contains mentions of animal abuse, torture, claustrophobia, morbid injury, and murder. So viewer discretion is advised. Anyhow, with that out of the way, let's get started. They say that when you feel a shiver down your spine, somebody is walking on your future grave. Isn't it funny, officer? I'm still giving you the shivers. I can't deny that. He's been like this since he walked in, perfectly still even without any restraint, shoulders hunched towards me and barely blinking. I've seen dozens like him, the dead eyes of someone incapable of feeling remorse for his actions. He has been in custody for 4 hours already, and I only have 5 minutes to break him and make him talk. Let me remind you why you're here. My colleagues deciphered your Zodiac-like letters you sent us, daring us to find you, and you got arrested. You got what you wanted, Elliot. Now tell me where you buried him. He is still alive, but that won't be for long. You're right, officer. Air doesn't last long in a sealed coffin. However, in 5 minutes it won't matter. And don't worry, the bitch had it coming. What do you mean? I've never been good at socializing, you know. Ever since I can remember, people avoided me because I'm different. I spend more time reading under the dead hemlock tree alone than being with other people. The murder tree. That's one. But the birds, they make me feel at ease. Have you ever held a bird in your hands, officer? Yes. You're a good person. I love birds. I swore to protect them from harm because nobody else will. The world is already cruel as it is. By now, I've memorized all their songs. I've seen some hatch and cried with joy. I've seen birds take flight for the first time. I've even had ducklings follow me as if I were their mama. Let him talk. My favorites. Ravens. I'm with him on that. Those gentle, frail creatures live in a world where they're shunned because they're weird and scary. I feel akin to them. And you know, they're considered as bad omens. Yeah, pretty much. I built a home for them, an aviary. Then why did you do it? Stop wasting time. You see, when I was coming back home, I heard gunshots, like the ones from hunters. And then my poor creatures, all laying on the floor in a gush of blood, the eggs smashed, broken black feathers everywhere. I cried, officer. Stop right there. Now that the motive is clear, let's scold him. Do you think this justifies burying a man alive? I don't care if he dies. I want him to suffer in fear, just like my poor creatures did. If he gets out of here, he'll feel like a new man for sure. Let's talk about what we found in your room. It was filled with journals about your past death rituals. Weighing of the heart. Oh, do you like it? It was an ancient Egyptian belief. When a person died, the heart was weighed against the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth and justice, whose name I don't know if I pronounced correctly. If the heart was heavier, well, Elliot starts giggling, giving a weird, satisfied smirk. It looks more like punishment, and he's delighted by that. His victim wouldn't pass the judgment, nor would he. Power of silence? We're gonna fail. Ever heard of them? The Zoroastrian. Many years ago, they built them for excarnation. They didn't want to taint the earth with the corpses, so they left them to the carrion birds. It was a way to give back to nature. I know what he's thinking about. His victim must be damaging the earth by living. Sky burial. Too little, too late. Don't worry, officer. It's not your fault. He brought this upon himself when he attacked the ravens. They're messengers of death after all. Ending. Messengers of death. Alright, I want to see sky burial. Or should I say, giving alms to the birds. It's a generous practice from East Asia. There's a variant where you put the body in a hollow tree trunk and wait for the birds. A hollow tree trunk. Definitely more practical than a coffin. Did he use a burial tree or... I mean, I know where he buried the guy, but what I'm gonna do is get some of the other dialogue options first, and then we will say that. Where did you bury him? What's the rush, officer? If you're patient enough, I might give you a hint. So why don't we have a nice little chat first? I've never been good at socializing, you know. Ever since I can remember, people avoided me because I'm different. I'm gonna say no this time. Oh, you're a good person. I love birds. I swore to protect them from harm because nobody else will. The world is already cruel as is. Hey, don't deflect. But this is important, officer. You'll see in a moment. As I was saying, birds are my only solace. My favorites, ravens. And why did you do it? Stop wasting time. You see, when I was coming back home, I heard gunshots, like ones from hunters. I cried, officer. Stop right there. Now that the motive is clear, let's empathize. What you've done is undoubtedly wrong, but I can't say I don't get it. That must have been horrible, Elliot. You know, you're a good guy. By confessing, you'll have a clear conscience. No. I don't care if he dies. I want him to suffer in fear, just like my poor creatures did. If he gets out of here, he'll feel like a new man for sure. Let's talk about what we found in your room. So we read all of these. I'm gonna do Sky Burial and then say we know where he's buried. Did he use a burial tree or... I know where Elliot buried his victim. I should ask about the books first. Alright, we're gonna skip through them. Alright, I know where he buried his victim. The murder tree. I quickly made a call for reinforcements. While Elliot was looking at me with a blank, motionless stare of contempt, I received the confirmation that they found the burial site. My intuition was right. He wanted to feed the victim to the ravens. You're going to prison. Do you understand? Loud and clear, officer. Allow me just this. I have one request. A favor, if you want to put it that way. What is it? I was expecting to hear something deranged come out of his mouth, but he gently reached for the bag I confiscated earlier. I froze for a moment, fearing he was going to threaten me with a weapon as a last resort. And then Elliot hands me a tiny little egg in a box. I won't be able to hatch it now. It's the only survivor from the nest, officer. And as you can imagine, it's been with me since I can't trust anyone. Please, take care of it for me. Promise me you'll teach it to fly and everything will be all right. What would I like to name it? I'm gonna name it Elliot. Well, I'll call it Elliot. Elliot, please take good care of it. And thank you. Ending, little Elliot. So I think those were both of the endings. Under the Murder Tree was a very cool visual novel. Between the timed mechanic, the necessity of getting all of the evidence before we made a decision, and having to type in our conclusion, this was probably one of the more complicated O2A2 visual novels that I've had a chance to play, and I really enjoyed it. For something that was so short, it had a very well-developed premise. It was fun to uncover the reasons why Elliot had done what he did, as well as gaining more evidence into where his victim might have been. And on top of all of that, we had a chance to learn a brief bit about certain ancient burial rituals and mythology surrounding the afterlife in other cultures, which is positively delightful. I will admit that history and anthropology have been very important subjects for me, so I did already know some of these things, but it was still really fun to read again, and I loved how it tied into how and where Elliot hid his victim. The interrogation itself was also very interesting. The fact that we had a time limit gave it a sense of urgency, but it was also so sad to hear why Elliot had done that to his victim. His motivations were admittedly understandable, and I appreciate that we could empathize with him in spite of our efforts to save his victim. In the end, success only felt bittersweet because his victim had also done something incredibly wrong. The bittersweet feeling only grew stronger too when Elliot gave us the raven egg to hatch, and my heart went out to him as a character, even if he had also done something bad and felt no remorse for it. He honestly is a character I would have loved to know even more about, and perhaps one that I wish could be given redemption. Of course, beyond the story, the assets used were fantastic. Elliot's sprite had such an intense air about him, and the music was somehow very soft and chill, while still adding to the anxiety of the timed interrogation. And as an aside, I liked the user interface that Banya used. Worked very well with this game. Honestly, Under the Murder Tree was a fun experience. It was short, but the pacing was well done, and the story was quite interesting. And if you made it this far, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did like it, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more of me but you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. I upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, as well as periodically shorts and extras throughout the week. I also stream on Twitch. Saturdays are the only constant at the moment. So if you want to see me live, come on by then. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye.